So how big a problem is the addiction issue with technology? Obviously this is a global phenomenon. I've lectured all over the world and speak all over the country. In fact, this week I'm flying to South Dakota to talk about it. So this is everywhere. And because we now have an 80 to 90% penetration with smartphone use, we now have an internet portal at high speed in our pockets or pocketbooks. So it's now spreading things in a way that we never could have imagined, and now Wi-Fi is everywhere. How big is it? There are different studies. There have been many, many, many studies looking at the prevalence of internet addiction, technology addiction, and the research shows that 2%, 3% on the low end. My research came in at about 5.96%. I've seen studies as high as 10, 12%. If you go to countries like China, mainland China, you'll see numbers as high as 25%. In fact, China has a public health crisis because 25% of their youth culture is spending huge percentages of their time in gaming parlors and internet cafes where all they do all day long is game. So the Chinese government sees this as a real issue because this is their future, and they've lost 25% of their potential workforce or their potential citizenship to this device. So they've opened up a string of clinics and treatment programs throughout the country to treat it. We're not at that level in the United States. There's only a few places that you can receive treatment. The Center for Internet and Technology Addiction is one of those centers, but there's other areas as well. And there's one in Seattle that has an inpatient residential program. And then there's another program in Pennsylvania. And then there's scattered individuals throughout the country that treat it. So how big a problem is it? It's not I wouldn't put it in the class of drug and alcohol use, but I would say it's a significant issue, and it's hard-pressed to find any area that, or any family that has not been touched by it or who is not worried about it or concerned about it. It is a significant issue, a very large issue, but not one that I would say has reached the level of drug or alcohol use. And because it's not as life or death oriented, it's only now becoming mainstream. But when I started researching and treating this back in the late 90s, it was almost unheard of. I wrote a book about it in '99. It was the second book in the world on the subject. Now we've got dozens and dozens and dozens of books and hundreds, if not thousands, of studies. So it has reached a level of maturity, and it's on the cusp of being accepted as an official psychiatric diagnosis.